Okay. So, guys, thank you again for being a part of the summit. Now we are shifting and transitioning to talk about social media. I am super excited about this element because, of course, my background is in marketing. I started out as a pastor earlier on in life, and at this point, I'm more so focusing with marketing. I do have a background in church growth as well. And one of the biggest things that I always teach or tell people is that social media is basically the 21st century evangelism. And
Hmm.
when I say that social media is the 21st century evangelism, it's because there is a tool that we can be using to really push forward God's word so that we can go therefore and teach people different things and elements of the Bible. We don't have to be confined to the four walls of what we classify as the church, but can spread the gospel um, to a larger audience. And what I have learned from my academy days and from ministry is that we're in a stage where the church, the community, and the academy is a dismantled triangle. And I say this mainly because when the Black church was formed at the very beginning, many of us will realize that it supported the community, but it also supported the academy. And they all functioned and worked together. And that's how the gospel was really spread throughout the community and across the US and other countries as well. But as we began to educate ourselves and push our children to become educated, we stopped giving back to those things that really propelled us forward. And because of this, we became dismantled and we started limiting ourselves on how we spread the gospel. So many people ask, is social media essential for evangelism? And without a shadow of a doubt, I will always say yes, 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 yes. And I say this because things are always changing. And if we are so non-effective or if we are so content with not changing, we're going to be basically a blockbuster in a Netflix world. And we can no longer be a blockbuster in a Netflix world trying to spread the gospel. So I encourage people to really just go forth and spread it on social media, even if it's a podcast, but spread the word of God so that people can hear it, people can grow it, and people can continue to share the word of God. And we're going to answer. Me and Danielle are going to go into conversation about branding, go into conversation about social media, and answer some of the questions. We have gotten a lot of questions from LinkedIn because we are also live streaming this event on multiple platforms. And we're also live streaming this event on Twitch and YouTube as well. So those questions that were not answered, we will definitely try to get those questions answered for you guys throughout the year as we will interview many of our participants one on one to get those questions answered. And for everyone who registered, thank you. We will send you the replay and we will also answer any questions that you guys had in the chat. We'll filter them out to make sure that those questions did get answered as well.
So, with that being said, one of the questions that I have that has come through is why do you think some churches are hesitant to embrace social media and branding?
I think it's a fear of change and a fear of learning things that are new. We fear the unknown. So many times, if it takes us actually committing ourselves to learning something new, we stop trying to do it, and because we don't understand it, we fear it. So many churches are hesitant of that, and we have an older generation in most of our churches that don't understand social media the way that a younger generation does. And there is a disconnect many
Yep.
times in churches between the younger generation and the older generation versus them actually coming together and having that conversation with their younger generation to see how can we implement this into the church.
I agree wholeheartedly on that. You know, A lot of the churches are some are older and they do have a lot of older members, so they just don't understand that connection with the social media. So another question that has come through is digital presence a spiritual responsibility in today's world?
Can you repeat that question?
Is digital presence a spiritual responsibility in today's world?
Mm, is digital presence a responsibility? I feel like it is, and hear me out.
Okay.
So when it comes when it comes to digital presence, the, the first thing a person sees is what they engage. So
Mhm.
if you have a good hook or you say something that can be relatable, it's everything on getting a person to continue to follow you and engage you. So if you're saying something that is relatable, that can help a person who may be experiencing something at that point in time, I feel like it's very much so relevant. So
Okay.
it so for example, if a person is grieving, but then they find that you have a lot of motivational stuff on your page and you're designing your page or branding your page to be motivational, then of course that's going to be something that they follow and they're going to share it to other people.
I agree. That makes sense. That makes sense. I know when we look at different TikToks and things, I see different TikToks and social media posts where the pastor may say something that's inspirational and it draws you in, and you keep following to see what's next, what they're going to say next. So that makes sense.
But I think there is also a caveat to it.
Hmm.
And that caveat comes in with the little short clips. Sometimes clips can be taken out of context
Context, yes.
or they can be shortened to misconstrue what is meant to be said. So
Yeah.
I think it just depends on how you position the context
Okay.
for the content.
Yeah, that makes sense because sometimes I totally agree with that because you can miss the whole point or the message that's being presented. So, how can churches use social media to extend their ministry beyond Sunday service?
Ooh, I can talk on that all day. But
Right.
I can give some key marketing points that churches can really leverage to really just extend things. The first thing is, as a church, you don't need multiple Facebook pages or multiple Instagram pages. Many times, some a church will allow a member to create a page. Then something happens, that member may not be able to maintain that page, and then the next person come in and instead of them trying to get access to the old page, they create a whole new page.
Yeah.
So that can be a problem. But making sure that if you're going to do social media pages for your organization, that there is a place where the passwords and who have access to it, everyone knows who's on your social media committee.
Mhm.
Another thing I know that a lot of churches are not fully leveraging is Google Business Profile, making sure that if someone is traveling outside of your current city, that they're able to search for you on Google so that they can actually visit and worship with you. And I would say my third tip is making sure, like, if you're recording your worship services, putting it on YouTube or even using the audio of that worship service as a podcast, because many of the younger generations, they work, so they may be traveling to work, and that gives them a way to still have access to the worship service and to still be a part of the community.
So, when you talk about putting things on YouTube, what about copyrights? Should they be worried about copyrights? Because sometimes search services has they play music and they have different songs and worship songs. Do they need to worry about copyright?
So if you upload it to YouTube and don't and you have a specific song in there, you can put in the description that is there's a song and acknowledge who the song is by, so
Okay.
that you're not doing it where you're infringing on copyrights. But you can share it on YouTube because there are so many different songs that are already on YouTube
Mhm.
that people use and share and listen to. that it won't infringe it as long as you citate that this is in your actual video.
Perfect. So, what about having a strong online presence? Can that help churches combat declining attendance and reach the unchurched?
You said you repeat that. I just saw more questions pop up.
Me too. Me too. I saw that one too. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, am I typing too? Okay. So the question is, can a strong online presence help churches combat a declining attendance and reach the unchurched?
I feel that it will. And the reason I say this is because we can use COVID for example. When churches actually shifted online during COVID, many churches had a larger attendance and even received more money from giving by using live streams and going online and leveraging social media. And I know I have a pastor who's on here that could contest that his giving went up during COVID because it was shifted online. And then another question is, how often should churches replay their worship services and Bible study lessons during the week? I wouldn't necessarily say that you should replay it. What I would say you could possibly do is have a strategy behind it. So if you have service on Sunday, on Monday or Sunday evening, you can make sure that that service is uploaded to YouTube. And then on maybe Wednesday, it can be transcribed into like a devotional where you're sharing words of encouragement to the community and are transcribe it to like a blog post. Or you can take like highlights of that service and turn it into reels and then have all of that coming back to a church website so that people can look at the Bible study lessons that took place during the week or a replay of the worship service. And if a church does not have a website, they need a website. That is a must because that's going to give people more information about about the website and the church. What are your top two or three apps or websites to create shorts and reels? Okay, so there are so many elements that can create shorts and reels. If the church is live streaming and using Zoom to live stream, Zoom has a built-in clip manager where it will actually create reels or shorts for you. You have InVideo that creates reels or shorts for you. You have what is it? It actually creates podcasts to Riverside FM. If you upload the clip or the recording to Riverside FM, it will actually use AI to chop up the long form and turn it into reels or clips. And it will also upload it to Spotify as a podcast for the church as well. I hope that helps.
So, the next question that has come through is, how does visual branding impact a church's ability to communicate its mission and vision values?
I think that if the branding is consistent, then
Mhm.
it is going to basically share the mission and the values of the church. And I think that many churches fail at this because when they get different pastors, they change a lot of times they sometimes change their vision or mission of the church. But I feel that many times, and maybe because I'm CME, many times because we're on itinerant mission ministry, that we're in a space where the pastor brings the mission and vision versus the church forming the mission and vision and then the pastor coming in to help them continue to carry it out. So I feel that as long as the church builds the mission and vision together and use the pastor as a support, then it can grow and actually have the brand to be essential regardless of who's there and who's not.
So, that brings me to another question. Um, when people are posting or churches are posting on Facebook and, you know, Instagram, shouldn't they have like a purpose, and not just posting? You should post with a purpose, have a content calendar, and make it make sense. I find that sometimes when I'm looking through and I'm visiting different, church social medias, it doesn't make sense sometimes. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Or what are you trying to convey? So my question is, should they have a purpose and should it be posting with a purpose or content?
I agree to that to a certain extent.
Okay.
It's kind of just like the liturgical calendar. Um, I feel that it has a purpose, but sometimes we can be so committed to the purpose that we lose the spiritual aspect of it.
Right.
And I say that because a lot of times we be so focused on what the calendar says versus what God is leading us to say. So I feel that when it comes to that, you can plan out or map out special days,
Hmm.
or map out motivational content, but it doesn't have to be black and white. You can
Good.
still leave room to be creative and share what this how where and how the spirit is leading you.
Perfect. So what role does storytelling play in a church's online strategy?
Everything. It's
Right.
just like the
Everything.
sermon. It's like the sermon needs an introduction, your transitions, your key points, and your conclusion. Your storytelling has to be the same way. When it comes to social media, you have to be able to hook people in,
Hmm.
because if not, they're just gonna keep strolling. The colors that you're using, the colors have meaning. So making sure that you're actually um, highlighting what you want to relay through color, making sure you're highlighting what you want to relay through the right font in the message as well. So it has everything to do with it.
Perfect. I understand 100%. And let's talk a little bit about that when you talk about color.
Mhm.
So can you give an example of what you mean when you talk about the color and the white font? Give an example.
Okay, so I would say if a church is looking to do money or fundraising, green and blue are always equivalent to finance. When
Okay.
you look at the background and branding of many companies that deal with finance, they use green and blue in their colors. When you're looking at things for like happiness and peace, you're
Mhm.
looking at colors like purple and pinks and things like that. So making sure that you're using the right color to go with things. How often should you update your logos and graphics on your site? So I feel like as long as you have a good logo and that your logo is upscale and high resolution, you don't have to always update your logos.
Right.
You end up updating your logos more than often when you get a cheap logo that is low resolution and you can't always use it depending on what type of website you have. The graphics on your site, the graphics on your site, I would say always update your graphics at least quarterly, just like your SEO on your site, so that your site can be searchable. And when I say updating your graphics, if you're doing some type of church events, make sure you're sharing those events not just on your website but also on social media so that people can see what your church is doing and how your church is moving in the community, because that's going to encourage them to do more or be a part of your church.
Okay.
Any
Awesome.
more questions?
Yes, I have a whole bunch of them. They've been coming through. So the next question is, what ethical considerations should churches keep in mind when using algorithms and targeted content?
Um, I would say that when it comes to ethical considerations, I would think or consider the social climate right now and how you word things, because a lot of people are getting sued because of the way they use certain terminology. So I would be careful in that aspect of it. But
Mhm.
outside of that, I wouldn't really worry about other things as long as you're not doing things that are illegal. Um, I think you should be covered. Churches also consider hire professional photographers to capture worship. If it, yes, I do recommend that maybe once a quarter you can hire a videographer or a photographer to come in and capture your worship service professionally. and you can use that content for your social media. If you get someone who's professional that comes in and they can get the worship service at multiple angles, you will basically a professional will be basically be able to create 90 days of content for coming in your church, and they can make you a content map or roadmap for the next 90 days of how you can share that content.
Perfect. So, how can churches use analytics and engagement metrics to shape more impactful ministry efforts?
I would say analytics are key.
Mhm.
Every platform now provides you with analytics, so that you should actually use those analytics, and what you can basically do is use those analytics to really target who's really engaging you.
Mhm.
You'll know whether or not you have more men who are engaging you. You'll know the age. You'll know the location. So if you're trying to grow your church on a local level, you'll know how to actually engage those people on the local level. And
Mhm.
I will also say you have your ideal church member. So, with that being said, if you're trying to reach a church member who is in a younger generation, knowing where they are or where they're located. If you're trying to reach a younger generation for your church, you're not going to find that younger generation on Facebook. You're going to find them likely on Snapchat, TikTok, or Instagram. But if you're trying to reach an older generation, you're going to find them on Facebook. If you're trying to reach a diverse generation, you're going to find them on YouTube. So knowing the platform is going to be essential because each platform has a different purpose.
That makes sense. So, the next question is, and this is a good question. So,
This is
I
the
know you
last question because we got to transition.
okay, this is the last question, but this is a good one. Should churches use social media as a modern day pulpit?
Should churches use social media as a modern day pulpit? I feel like it's already a modern day pulpit because you're voicing what you feel, your opinion, and you're going forth um with a true message. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we have 3 minutes before we transition to our next speaker. So let's take this last one. How can churches authentically integrate social media into their culture in a way that strengthens community, enhances spiritual engagement, and reflect their core values without compromising tradition or intimacy? I think that goes back to actually having a plan.
Mhm.
So if you know what your church's core values are, have a plan of how you want to relate those values out. So, for example, if your pastor is doing a sermon series, or if you have a message on Sunday, what values align with the church that was delivered within that message on Sunday, and then highlight those in clips where it's still intimate, and then you
Right.
can still share it out. So you're still standing on the values of the church.